It is January 4th, and I am about to start reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for Lumos, the Harry Potter reread project I'm hosting, and I am jazzed. I am absolutely jazzed to start reading this. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is very stupid and very superficial, but I am so disturbed by these new editions of Harry Potter. There's like doodles and doodads on the inside, and it's so different. The quality of the paper is even different. I know the Raincoast books were printed on, they bragged about being printed on recycled paper, and I didn't realize how much of like my association with Harry Potter was like picking up those physical books and like carrying around those physical books throughout my childhood. So it is a little weird to pick up this copy of the book. I'm literally within the first few chapters. The first chapter's from Vernon Dursley's perspective, and he is very normal. He wants to assure everyone. It's been fun. I haven't read the physical books since my master's. I've done the audiobooks, and I have picked here and there at the physical books. Like sometimes I'll start the physical book and then just switch to the audiobook. Like I haven't actually dragged my eyes across the page in probably 4 or 5 years. So I'm excited. I'm making notes, which is why I bought some new editions that I could actually bring myself to write in, because I can't bring myself to write in my childhood copies. I am going to keep reading. It is January 5th. I worked this morning. I did a huge paper changeover for Indigo, and then I came home and I worked on a live show outline for The Shining, and now it is time to take the rest of my day and enjoy Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for the Lumos vlog. Today is day 3 of the Lumos vlog. Yesterday I showed you a little bit of footage of the bath that I drew for myself, and I read Harry Potter there, and that was the Harry getting the letters and then meeting Hagrid, and oh my goodness, so much appreciation for Hagrid as a character. He is just so good, so like sweet and innocent, just the absolute best, and it was such a joy to read that again. Today I am going to be plugging away at Harry Potter once again, no surprise, Lumos vlog. But then also, yesterday I went through my TBR and I scanned all of my unread books into Goodreads to this owned and unread shelf. That was a horrifying number. Very, very aware of exactly what I own now. And that didn't include the books that I owned and have started reading, and so I updated my currently reading list on Goodreads as well, and like it's like 22 books. I'm gonna do a couple solid hours of Harry Potter, but then I am also going to try and pluck away at this stack. Let me show you this stack. So yeah, this is the stack. It's not all 22 books because some of the books are audiobooks. Oh, my friends. And yes, I still have my Christmas tree up. It is a goal by the end of this week to get Christmas packed away, but for now I'm just enjoying it because it's pretty and it's shiny. It's interesting because I already picked some of the well, I didn't already pick some of the topics. I already picked all of the topics when I designed this course. And so, of course, I'm like making notes for future topics, even though each of those topics is like linked with a specific book. I'm making notes for myself in these earlier books to come back to them for the later books. So like, I'm having a lot of fun. So can we talk about how food plays such an important role in children's literature? And like, we're on the train right now with Harry and Ron. Ron has packed sandwiches because his family is poor, and obviously you can't afford to buy a lunch on the train. Like a prepaid lunch or a eating out is a special treat. It's a luxury that his family can't afford. So he has sandwiches, packed sandwiches. Harry, who finally has his hands on this money. It's interesting because Harry has probably spent his whole childhood never being able to buy sweets, probably packing his own shitty lunch. I don't know how it works in the British school system. If lunch is included. The Dursleys would probably pay for that for Harry for like appearance's sake, right? If everybody's kid was eating a prepared meal, they want to give the perception of a certain class that could afford to buy food, but then maybe they don't like Harry. So maybe he also always got shitty sandwiches. But this is the first time that Harry has had some money, and he buys all this candy and then he shares it with Ron. Go on, have a pasty, said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or indeed anyone to share it with. It was a nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all of Harry's pastries and cakes. That food here, it's junk food, but it is food that indicates a change, I guess, in Harry's position, because for once he has wealth. Sorry, this is so crooked. You are literally on a stack of books. My camera is occupied other places, so we're filming with my phone for this. Like, the food is what connects them. It indicates like a shift in Harry's position, right? He has wealth in the wizarding world. He has status. Like, I'm sure that he, if he were a little shit, could use his wealth to get a lot of free things. He would be like the Instagram influencer. Send me free pumpkin pasties and I'll make sure that a pumpkin pasty is the exclusive pasty of Harry Potter. Capitals, all capitals, right? Like, Harry could become a Lockhart, jumping ahead a book. And even in this scene, we see Draco, who has now realized who this boy in the shop that he had no interest in is. It's Harry Potter, and he wants to befriend him. And you could see that Draco Malfoy has made the connection between fame and power, and how, like, there's a certain amount of prestige and privilege that comes with being famous. And I think we can see that throughout the rest of these books, that Harry gets away with a lot of shit that probably anyone else would get expelled for. Maybe not from Hogwarts, because Hogwarts is bonkers. From like a normal school, any other kid would probably get expelled for the things that Harry does, but Harry Potter is famous, so Harry Potter is rewarded. So it's interesting. It's interesting seeing these like initial scenes. I loved seeing Hermione's enthusiasm. Just like, you could picture her like so excited, just like hyped on the wizarding world, hyped on magic, and she's just like talking a mile a minute about everything that she's ever read about Hogwarts since she learned about it, and Harry is super famous and he's in all these books, and so adorable. Also, there's a lot of preamble. Like, for a children's book, there's a lot of necessary world building, I suppose, but world building that I don't know if this amount of world building would be acceptable in today's children's publishing market, where the immersive fantasy is much more popular and sought after. So like, oftentimes you'll see opening chapters, and I put my bloody sword back in the scabbard kind of thing. And you're like, what do you mean? Where's the battle? It already started. I missed it. Fantasy right now is a lot more interested in on-the-fly world building, or like, I don't know how I want to describe it, like smooth world building. This very much feels like, I'm going to build the world for 130 pages before we even get to anything like super plot related. I mean, that's fine. I'm loving it. It's just interesting to see how the market has changed for fantasy literature. So it is 4 o'clock now. I am beginning to lose the light. I am hungry, and I have to pick up my mom in a little bit. I think I'm going to stop reading Harry Potter for the day. So I think for the rest of the night, I'm probably going to pick away at some of the other things on this massive pile of books that I've started. And then I have a little bit of German to work on. And again, I can't read German for the same amount of time that I can read English. My brain gets too tired, so plenty of things to pick at. I will see you tomorrow with more updates, more loose thoughts as they occur on Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Today is January 8th. I am about to start reading for the day, and I'm going to be taking Harry Potter with me when I go to the doctor's today. So, probably can't show myself reading there or do check-ins there, but that is the plan. All right, so just got back from the doctor. She confirmed what I was able to confirm for myself, and has referred me to a special assessment clinic, which is doesn't exactly ease my mind. I am going to try and distract myself as much as humanly possible. I read some Harry Potter in the waiting room. Yeah, I didn't go to the doctor like this. I'm just trying to get some volume in my hair, so ignore the whatever. So yeah, I did read some Harry Potter in the doctor's office. It's now Harry's first Quidditch match. I found Quidditch a lot more interesting when I was a kid. Now I'm just like, yeah, sports on brooms. But like as a kid, I was like, ooh, this is super fun, this is exciting. My favorite part of like every book was obviously the climax, the like super fun hijinks, right? But also the Quidditch matches. Whereas an adult, I'm like, I just want to spend more time exploring this bonkers castle. I want to spend more time with Hermione. I want to spend more time with the teachers. Like, I've been taking notes of places where, like, clearly the teachers are friends. Malfoy sees Harry and Ron carrying up a broom-shaped package, and Malfoy, being the little rat that he is like, Professor Flitwick, look, Harry has a broom. We're not allowed brooms. And Flitwick's like, oh yes, McGonagall told me all about the special circumstances. And I could just picture McGonagall and Flitwick sitting in the staff room with a bottle of wine, or probably somewhere the teachers have to have apartments, right? They don't just live in their classrooms. Or do they? This is Hogwarts. They could just magic their classrooms into a bedroom. I don't know how it works. Harry doesn't care about how the teachers live or function at school, so we don't care as readers. But like, I could just picture these two teachers hanging out at the end of a day being like, oh, these little shits. They lit something on fire again. They destroyed my teacup. They whatever, in attempts to learning magic, right? And like sharing a bottle of wine, but then also McGonagall being ridiculously excited, like, I have this new seeker. He's gonna be so good. We're finally gonna win. We're gonna beat Slytherin. I clearly think too much about these things. So Dumbledore in the early books is clearly the best. He's also totally bananas. How could anyone take him seriously as a great wizard? But he is the best. Like, his opening speech, I have a few words, and he just says a couple of nonsense words, and then the feast begins. And then at Christmas, he swaps his wizard's hat for a flowered bonnet. Just imagine, like, the principal of your school, the dean of the university, the most respected man in your country, or like the Minister of Magic, writes to Dumbledore for advice. So he's wearing a flowered bonnet. It's interesting because it's just naturally how reading a series works, but like by the time you get to the later books, you're left with an older, changed perspective of the characters. And that's always what I leave with, and how the series sort of sits in my mind is how all the characters end, more so than how they begin. So it's actually, I've never done a reading vlog and documented the process of reading these books as I go, but I'm just enjoying how clearly Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is children's literature. Just the way the adults work and act, the way that the school seems to function. I mean, not that Hogwarts gets any less bananas, but it's like even more so bananas in this one. It just seems totally ridiculous and absolutely 100% an 11-year-old's perspective. Like, did Hogwarts really kill 100 turkeys for their Christmas dinner for like the handful of students that stayed behind? No, guarantee you they did not. But to an 11-year-old, seeing an absolute feast, right? It looks like 100 turkeys are on that table and mountains of roasted potatoes or whatever they are, right? So you can definitely see that like childish excitement of experiencing this big fancy Christmas feast that he's never really had before. I'm enjoying soaking up young, childish Harry and like the way the books sort of sit at the beginning of the series. Good morning. It is the next day and I am still hung up on Hogwarts Christmas. Harry watched Hagrid getting redder and redder in the face as he called for more wine, finally kissing Professor McGonagall on the cheek, who, to Harry's amazement, giggled and blushed, her top hat lopsided. I have so many questions. First of all, do these adults not have families? Does Hogwarts collect orphaned people? Hagrid is an orphan. Dumbledore is elderly and presumably, like, his parents are dead. McGonagall, the way she's written, we can assume she's sort of a spinster figure. Does Hogwarts collect the isolated and alone and create a space for them? That's my first question. I'm thinking way too much about this. My second thing is, who is supervising the children? Like, it's one thing for all of the professors to spend the holidays together and to have an adult Christmas party with wine, but if all of the adults are getting really drunk, who is supervising the children? These are things that you're not meant to think about. Also, I was on Instagram this morning and somebody asked if I would be talking about JK Rowling and her transphobic comments. So later in this project, I do have an episode planned on epilogues and paratext. And now that I'm thinking about it, that might have to be a couple of episodes. If you are new to this channel, then you maybe don't know, but in many of the other videos, I've talked about the death of the author. Yes, I know that JK Rowling is very much alive and putting her thumbs to ill use on Twitter. Death of the author is a concept from Roland Barthes. It's the idea that once you produce a text, that text has a life of its own. It lives on and separate from the author. However readers consume it, however readers take it, it's there in the text, right? So I am of the opinion a text should speak for itself. In many of the Harry Potter books, we can read a lot of homophobic and transphobic and racism into the text, just based on what is textually there, and we can criticize these texts in that way. How do I want to phrase this? I just totally lost my train of thought. So I guess the idea is that whether or not the author intended to be hurtful, the text speaks for itself. Maybe the author didn't intend to be homophobic, but they have queer-coded all of their villains so that we link queerness with villainy. Maybe the author didn't intend that. Maybe the author doesn't actually hate gay people, but through social conditioning, through years of seeing Disney queer code villains and just film and television in general queer coding villains, that idea that like a villainous man should be effeminate and therefore queer coded in some way has seeped into their brain, and they have regurgitated that homophobia into their own text, right? Doesn't matter their intention. Maybe their intention was just to create a villain and this is how they believe that a villain should be created. But we as readers can read it in total isolation of the author's intention and see that as homophobic and as hurtful. I am a fan of letting the text speak for itself. Now in this case, especially in 2020, basically since the invention of Twitter, we have had the unique position as readers of knowing our authors as humans in a way that folks in the past haven't. We can look at somebody like John Green, who has an online presence, and we can see his intentions and what he's doing with his platform, and I even read his books in his voice, that I hear him speak to me what feels like personally from the Vlogbrothers. And so his brand shapes my understanding of him as a human and affects my reading of the text. And so that is something that we didn't have to deal with before and makes Death of the Author harder. It's still something that I strive for as a reader. Like, that's how I'm approaching the series. That's how I'm approaching it now as I vlog more casually. That's how I'm approaching it for the like dedicated academic lessons. That's how I'm going to approach it for interviews with folks. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to go back to reading about drunk teachers at Christmas. So I totally forgot about Norbert and how Hagrid refers to himself as a mummy, not a daddy, but a mummy. And he gives him his teddy bear. He gives Norbert a little teddy bear. What a interesting performance of masculinity. Hagrid is this huge, booming, beardy guy. We've seen him on a motorcycle. I very much picture him as this, like, I don't know, I almost want to say like a biker, redneck kind of person. Like the kind of person who would be out in the forest hunting, knows how to like shoot and skin an animal. And yet he nurtures this baby dragon and refers to himself as a mummy. several times that he is Norbert's mummy. He embraces this term that is like culturally associated with the nurturing and the raising of children, and like he gladly puts on that mantle. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh my goodness. And I feel like the unfortunate thing is that it's probably played off for laughs. Like little kids picturing this giant beardy man being like, oh, look, he recognizes his mummy. It's supposed to be funny. But I think it's actually really cool. This is an example of authorial intention versus the text. I would imagine that that unexpected subversion of roles is intended for a laugh. That's how humor works. It's the shock, it's the surprise that gets us to laugh, right? But textually, what we have is actually like really cool and subversive. It's a softer masculinity. It's packaging nurturing and childcare into an otherwise hyper-masculine character in terms of outward appearance, right? Hagrid is a man who works with his hands, who makes his living keeping a garden, tending a forest, taming wild beasts. He's a groundskeeper. He's a outdoor manly man who lives in a hut by himself. And like, it's not just that he's a mummy. He has a flowery pink umbrella that conceals his wand. He bakes, and he's a mummy, and I love it. So I have just gotten to the potions riddle that Snape has set up, protecting the Philosopher's Stone. And throughout the book, we have had opportunities as readers to play detective, and everything is there for us. There are little clues, little puzzles, which is what I want to talk about in the first, like, lesson. I should just embrace this and put on that professor hat. I don't know why I'm so reluctant to call myself a teacher, but whatever. During the first lesson, I want to talk about the actively detecting reader, and one of the things that I've noticed is that the riddle for the potions is unfair. Danger lies before you, while safety lies behind. Two of us will help you, whichever you would find. One among us 7, so I've drawn 7 little buckets, will let you move ahead. Another will transport the drinker back instead. 2 among our number hold only nettle wine, so that means 5 are up for grabs. 3 of us are killers. We don't want to drink 3 of them, though, so only 2 are what we want. Choose unless you wish to stay here forevermore. To help you in your choice, we give you these clues 4. First, however slyly the poison tries to hide, you will always find some on nettle wine's left side. Second, different are those that stand at either end. So we know that this one and this one are different. But if you would move onwards through the flames, neither is your friend. So they're not wine, and they're not moving us forward. So one of those might take us back. Third, as you can clearly see, this is the clue that isn't a fair clue. All are different size. Neither dwarf nor giant holds death in their insides. So with this paper, we don't get that clue. Fourth, the second left and second on the right are twins once you taste them, though different at first sight. So I assume that the second left and second right are wine, which means that the ones next to it are poison, which means that this is not taking us forward, it's taking us back, which gives us these 2, which if we could visually see them, one of them would be smaller. So one of these is poison, and one of them is the potion forwards. So it's the only riddle we can't solve. I'm curious if the illustrated Philosopher's Stone fixes this, and it doesn't. So that's really disappointing. The illustrated edition would have been a perfect opportunity to allow us detective readers to participate in that riddle and actually try and solve the riddle. Like, that's one of my favorite things about the Hobbit with Gollum and the ring, right? Bilbo has to solve a bunch of riddles to get the ring from Gollum, right? I may be mixing that up and being a bad children's lit scholar, but those riddles are all fair game. A lot of the other mysteries in this book, in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, are fair game, but not this riddle. And it's so sad. And I thought the illustrated edition, like if the illustrated edition had drawn out the bottles for us on this page, we would be able to play along. Like as readers, we wouldn't have that leap in logic at the end because the clue is based on size. It's based on something that we can't see because we're not provided the details. I have finished Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. What an ending. Dumbledore seems evil and manipulative. Like there's this part where Harry's like, I think he wanted us to work this out on our own. Like I think he wanted me to find the stone and have this chance to destroy Voldemort. I think Hermione has a line that's along the lines of, don't be ridiculous. This was super dangerous. No adult would try and have you do this. You're 11. This was obviously luck that you didn't die. And Harry's like, no, Dumbledore was trying to teach me a lesson because he's cool. If Dumbledore knew about this, which I think he did, it's absolutely irresponsible and totally mind-boggling. And then also the ending, where spoilers, Gryffindor wins the House Cup. But first, Dumbledore announces that Slytherin wins the House Cup, and then he's like, but wait! I have extra points to give out! And then he gives out all of the points, and like, just conveniently enough points so that Slytherin loses by like 10 points. I mean, I know the Slytherins are the house that produces the most evil wizards, but like, how devastating would that be? As a child, like these are children, the rules that are set in place, like obviously by the time the feast rolls around, you are not competing for points anymore, right? At a certain point, you could trash Dumbledore's office and shit on his desk and you wouldn't lose points for your house. You shit on Dumbledore's desk during the term and yeah, you're losing 50 points for your house. But once that feast hits, once everybody's sitting down at that table, it seems like the decision should be final. And like, he just pulls the rug out from under those poor Slytherins. And like, I'm not a Slytherin. I am a Ravenpuff. I think it's the Hufflepuff part of me that's like, this is unfair. This is unkind. And it's children. It's children who work really hard and get really excited about this like camp team game of earning arbitrary points. I'm sad for the Slytherins, is what I'm saying. Ooh, let's make this more symmetrical. Some stellar filming happening on my phone here. I have a lot of notes here to now comb through and pull together the 2 lessons I have planned on the context of children's lit, and then also the active reader, like the reader as detective. I'm very much looking forward to doing that. Thank you to my patrons for making videos like this and long-form projects possible. I really appreciate the work that they are enabling me to do. Their support on this project has been amazing. If you are interested in exclusive Lumos content, signing up for Patreon is the place to go. It's a way to support the channel. It's a way to support this work because it is labor intensive. It takes up a lot of my time and I love it, but I am not getting paid for this. If you cannot afford to support the channel in that way, like, comment, subscribe, share this series with people, get the word out there that this exists and that I'm working on it because, I mean, I'm obviously not working for it to sit in a dark corner. I'm putting it on the internet, so getting more eyeballs on it also really helps and is much appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching this vlog. Let me know how you feel about a vlog entirely on the phone. The reason that I tried this on the phone this time is because I am hoping that as I continue this reading vlog with each Harry Potter book between January and August, that I will make the vlog more mobile and I am not taking my fancy pants DSLR to a coffee shop to film myself, but I will happily, like, sneakily put my cell phone on the table and film myself, you know, the whole optics of the situation. So let me know how you feel about the phone just for vlog footage. Thank you all so much for watching. Knox.